The ancient Romans conquered one of history's greatest empires. However, this empire was not built peacefully. Relying on their highly disciplined military system, the Romans fought wars against many kingdoms of different cultures and traditions. Many peoples of warrior cultures organized armies to fight the Latin invaders, but they failed to stand up to the Roman Republic, which seemed forever unsatisfied with the growing number of territories and cities under their rule. But Rome wasn't the only military and economic power on the rise. In North Africa, the great city of Carthage remained steady and sovereign in the control of the Mediterranean Sea trade routes. Carthage had been founded around 814 BC by Phoenician settlers, and within a short time, the city grew in strength and splendor. Over time, the Carthaginians founded other cities in Sicily and Sardinia and ruled the territories of other peoples who inhabited the African coastal region. The control that the Carthaginians exercised over the Mediterranean Sea greatly affected the progress of the Roman conquest, and soon armed conflicts between the two powers started to happen. Such conflicts fueled several wars, known as the Punic Wars. The First Punic War took place between 264 and 241 BC. It was a maritime conflict for the most part, which forced the Romans to build a large fleet of ships to confront the Carthaginian warships. During the First Punic War, land battles were fought on the island of Sicily, a rather important strategic point for the control of trade in the Mediterranean Sea. The war ended with the Roman victory at the Battle of the Aegates Islands, fought between the Roman and the Carthaginian navy fleets. The Carthaginians were expelled from Sicily and other newly conquered territories. To ensure control of their borders, the Carthaginians were forced to sign a treaty recognizing Rome's right to lead the Mediterranean trade. The peace treaty between Rome and Carthage was tainted by a never-ending distrust between the two peoples. The Roman Senate always imposed new demands on taxes and territories, something that humiliated the proud Carthaginian people. Then, the great Carthaginian general Hamilcar Barca focused his efforts on invading the Iberian Peninsula and conquering new lands for Carthage. Hamilcar had taken part in the last quarrels of the First Punic War, and, after the end of the war, he participated in the Mercenary War, where he fought a rebellion of mercenaries that ravaged Carthage's allied cities. Hamilcar defeated several Iberian tribes and took control of vast territories rich in silver and tin, adding a new source of income in metals and wood to Carthage. His name was exalted with grand esteem, something ill interpreted by the Romans. General Hamilcar looked at Rome with major contempt and instructed his eldest son never to trust the word of Roman senators and generals. Hamilcar's son was a determined and brave youngling, whose name will become known as one of history's greatest generals and military strategists, Hannibal Barca. The surname Barca can be translated as Ray, quite apt for the man Hannibal would become. In some versions, it's said that at the age of 9, Hannibal participated in a ritual alongside his father. During the ritual, Hannibal dipped one of his hands in a basin with the blood of a sacrificial animal, and as he raised his fist, young Hannibal took an oath in which he said, "I swear so soon as age will permit, I will use fire and steel to arrest the destiny of Rome." During his childhood, Hannibal studied writing and philosophy with Greek teachers and learned about the great military feats of Alexander the Great, while also learning military strategy from a Spartan teacher. The stories of Alexander's conquests were an inspiration for Hannibal to study battle tactics, quite unusual and risky, but which would be difficult for enemies to predict. The privileged education he had in his youth made Hannibal a man educated in different subjects, something that would be very useful in his military career. But an unexpected event changed Hannibal's life forever. Hannibal's father, Hamilcar, died abruptly in 228 BC during a battle against Iberian rebels. Some years after his death, Hannibal was chosen to take the major role of army commander. At 26, Hannibal was a cunning commander revered by his soldiers. Many admired Hannibal's resemblance to his late father. Some veteran soldiers even exalted Hannibal by saying, "He's Hamilcar in his youth. The same energy in his face, the same fire in his eyes." Hannibal extended his father's military campaigns against the Iberian tribes and defeated several enemy armies, conquering new cities and spoils for Carthage. Hannibal's reputation was already spreading among his people and reached the Roman Senate, which started to closely follow the young general's footsteps. To secure a monitoring point on the Iberian Peninsula, the Romans established a diplomatic alliance with the city of Sagunto, located where the province of Valencia in Spain is today. This strategic maneuver from the Romans was taken as a major insult by the Carthaginians, since Rome was claiming territories beyond the borders established in the old peace agreement. This offense against Carthage enraged General Hannibal, and he attacked the city of Sagunto. After an 8-month siege, the city was taken. The flames of war between Rome and Carthage were ignited again. Rome sent a political delegation to Carthage and demanded the return of Sagunto, along with a large sum of silver for the offense. But the Carthaginians had had enough of adding to the Roman resources. The Roman emissaries received an unexpected and bitter response. The Carthaginians chose war. After taking advantage of Hannibal's great popularity, the Carthaginian government urged the people and soldiers to start a new war against Rome. The Second Punic War began. For Hannibal, the long-dreamed-for chance to fight the Romans and honor the memory of his father had come. But he knew that Rome was not weak. A minor error could put everything to lose. Hannibal knew that the shortest way to Rome would be by crossing the Mediterranean Sea, landing with his troops in Italy. But many months were needed to build new boats. The Roman fleet was too strong to be challenged. To make matters worse, the Romans were already organizing their legions to move against Carthage. This invasion would be made by land through Spain and by sea from the island of Sicily. Hannibal then took one of the most daring decisions in history, to march against Rome across Spain and southern Gaul. Hannibal quickly assembled a large army, which included many horses, camels, and 40 war elephants that would have to be taken through uneven and unreceptive terrain. The long march began in late spring of 218 BC. Hannibal organized deployments of soldiers to protect the Iberian Peninsula during this absence, leaving Hasdrubal, his younger brother, in command of the troops. Even at the head of an army of more than 90,000 warriors, Hannibal knew that this would not be enough to defeat the legions and reach Rome. Then, he sent messengers to recruit Iberian and Gaul mercenaries. Despite their mutual contempt of Rome, many tribes refused to send soldiers to support Hannibal's cause. After all, if the Carthaginian general failed in his attack, the Roman response would be quick and deadly. Nevertheless, about 40,000 Gauls joined Hannibal's army as they passed through Gaul. The rumors of the attack on Rome spread quickly. When the Romans learned of the advance of such a massive army, they readily established a line of defense and marched across the Mediterranean coast in the hope of stopping Hannibal's army in its tracks. To avoid a conflict that could greatly diminish his number of men, Hannibal changed his route and climbed the valley of the Rhone River, where he got new Gaul supporters. Now Hannibal had no chance of turning back. The Romans would chase him if he tried to retreat. There was no alternative but to forward by a new route. Hannibal's determination remained unshaken, but he was about to encounter the biggest obstacles in his military campaign, the Alps, a vast mountain range so high that they spent much of the year covered with snow due to the low temperatures. Even before a massive challenge, Hannibal did not step back and started what would be one of the most famous and dangerous journeys in history.